Everything that I did for my thyroid health really was for my pregnancy health. It supported me to get pregnant and to sustain a healthy pregnancy. A lot of times thyroid diseases manifest as after a stressful life event.
My heart just sank, and I just couldn't believe, like, this disease is just so awful.
Some had thyroid cancer, some had hyperthyroidism with Graves, nodules. They all had different underlying thyroid issues, and they were still able to overcome them and have their pregnancy and have their baby.
Welcome, Priscilla, to part 3 of our conversations. I am so excited for this one. This one is a huge topic. And we already covered in the first one an overview of your journey. The second one was the steps you took. And we knew we needed a part 3. We just couldn't end it on part.
Yeah.
It's pretty much how I found you and how I found that inspiration, because I'm of the age, as I mentioned, I just got married and I want to start a family. And with pregnancy and everything and fertility, it's such a huge topic with anybody who's got autoimmune. And I felt the fear. I felt the fear. And I saw your story, and I'm so happy that you shared it, because it gave me that inspiration and hope that you can get through it and you can have a healthy baby. That's what anybody wants.
Yes.
So it's so amazing. And I'm just here to listen and learn. And I don't even know where you want to begin. You think?
Okay. Well, I think the most important thing to mention before the pregnancy is making sure your thyroid is stable. And this is recommended whether you have active Graves or if you're in remission. Your doctor's going to want you to be stable for at least 6 months to a year.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah,
it's just because they want to make sure that you're not going to have active Graves during pregnancy, because there could be a lot more complications. A lot of times for women who do have active Graves during pregnancy, it can get worse. And then it can kind of start to get better during the 3rd trimester. And then a lot of times it gets extremely worse during postpartum. And that's when you would see the thyroid storm. So, so for me, when I started my health journey, I didn't have pregnancy on my mind. I was single. I wasn't dating at the time, but everything that I did for my thyroid health really was for my pregnancy health. It supported me to get pregnant and to sustain a healthy pregnancy. I just didn't know that at the time, that thyroid and pregnancy health is goes hand in hand. Whether you have thyroid issues or not, the thyroid pregnancy is going to be a stress test for the thyroid, regardless if you have thyroid issues or not. If you do, you're just going to be more mindful of your thyroid health. And if you don't have thyroid issues, you may, develop it during postpartum, or it can show up during postpartum.
Do you think people are aware that how important a thyroid is, whether you have thyroid issues and you don't have thyroid issues? Because I don't think they tell you that when you're part of the conversation that they give to you when you're thinking about getting pregnant. I don't think they tell you about the thyroid, how important it is.
Yeah, they don't. I don't. I mean, even when I was pregnant, I was still doing research on pregnancy and thyroid health. And that's when I learned that the baby depends on the mother for all of its thyroid hormones up until 18 to 20 weeks, gestational. So they rely on you until they can make their own. So thyroid health is just naturally part of pregnancy health. So it's vital for women to have, a healthy thyroid to support healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby.
It sounds like it's the one part of your body that is the most important for this. Important. And I didn't know that your baby needs it that you just said the baby needs that for the first 2 weeks. How important? Then it just shows to have your thyroid health in check, and how many women even go with undiagnosed thyroid issues into pregnancy.
Oh yeah. Because we kind of talked about how the number one cause of hyperthyroidism is Graves' disease. So there are a lot of layers that causes an autoimmune disease. So I approached my healing through lifestyle, and that meant, adequate exercise, nutrition, minimizing your toxic load. All of these things are vital for a healthy pregnancy too. And that's why my message is always your daily habits, your daily lifestyle, that's going to support your health and sustain it in the long run. So if you're looking for getting pregnant in the future, you really have to start looking at what you're doing today to support that. And there is this book by Lily Nichols. She's a dietitian, and she really emphasizes the importance of not just nutrition, but also the way that toxins can the toxic load part that can cause complications in pregnancies. And she dives deep into a nutrition-based diet that is not recommended by today's FDA. So it's very much more, And if you follow her on Instagram, she post the data, the case studies in a way where like the average person like me who maybe didn't study diet, nutrition, and I don't really understand all the medical terminology, but she explains things where the average person like me can understand it. And she shares all of this data, and it's proving that, the diet that we need for a healthy pregnancy is different than what's recommended. So it's going to be more protein based, healthy fat based, not as much as carbs it's recommending. So she's a really good source that I recommend. I think that whether you're trying right now to heal from thyroid or to get pregnant, this book is going to do both, or this information is going to do both. And that's, I think, the easiest way to share this message, because it's not this is what you have to do for your thyroid, and then this is what you have to do for pregnancy. You just do this one thing. You focus on chemical, physical, and emotional stressors. There's sources like Dr. John Bergman, Lily Nichols is really great because it's specifically for pregnancy, but it's all in one and the same. It's going to support healthy thyroid and healthy pregnancy.
Did you find this on your own? So when you decided that is that how you decided you wanted to get pregnant? And then did you feel like you had to be your own health advocate again? Did you feel like you had to do your own research?
Yeah. And, one thing that I feel like, I had major baby fever. Like, I got married in 2020 and, like in early 2020. And then I want to say like a couple months, like the baby fever was really hit. And I can understand why so many women who do approach me, that's probably like the number one reason why, because they see my pregnancy, just kind of like you shared.
Yeah.
And we've even had a conversation previously where, your doctors kind of do scare you on the ability to maintain a healthy pregnancy because of Graves' disease. So the idea of pregnancy becomes very daunting, and it's very fearful. And that it was for me too, because my doctor at the time who was treating me or who was seeing me, she basically was telling me, you may be fine now and you may be in remission now, but just wait until you get pregnant. So
like that. Just like
that. Like she was, just like that, because Graves' disease the cause of it is unknown. And we do know that pregnancy can make it worse.
Yeah.
And so she was just kind of left me with that sour note, like you're okay now, but Graves' disease is probably going to come back during pregnancy. So I was definitely entering pregnancy with a little bit of fear, because I was also entering like the unknown. Like I had been in remission for, I think up at that point for 3 years. And
that's a really good amount of time to be in remission.
Yeah. But I felt like I was in very unknown territory because my doctor never had a patient like me. I didn't have something to go off of, or like somebody else telling me like, this is what you should expect. So I still had that fear and that voice in my head, like, oof, this is this can be rocky, you know, like a rocky
No
journey.
guidance, nothing
No
to
guidance.
Mm-hmm.
But the one guidance that I did have, and I highly recommend this book, is The Calcium Lie by Dr. Robert Thompson. And it really is a book about thyroid health, pregnancy health, and just overall health. And I recommend it to anybody, but I especially recommend it to any woman that wants to, you know, heal their thyroid and have a healthy pregnancy. And reading his book really opened up my eyes to trace minerals like nutrient deficiency. And that's deficiency at the cellular level. So up to that point, to me, health was just based on like nutrients, of course, like healthy food, vitamins, you know, minimizing toxic load. But the book, The Calcium Lie, elevated it to now your cellular health. Like, how healthy are you at the cellular level? And I actually reached out and consulted with him because of, you know, I was so fearful. And up to that point, you know, the health risks were just on me. Like, I was the only one at risk with the decisions that I was making. But being pregnant, you know, now I have a baby's health that could be at risk. So I didn't want to risk anything. I didn't want to risk anything on my baby, you know, on my baby's health, because now whatever I do can possibly affect the pregnancy. So that's why I reached out and consulted with him. And
because before it was you, and like you said, so you could make a decision and see, is this working for me? Is this not? If you have symptoms, if you have flare-ups or anything, you can try and navigate it. And
I could experiment.
You could experiment, because that's what it feels like. Even that's what we're all trying to figure out for our own body. For our own bodies, there is no paved way. You know, even if somebody says these are the steps, it might not work completely for you. So you figure it out.
Yes, you might have to tweak it a bit. And
but you can afford to do that with a baby.
For me, you know, that was just I didn't want to do it just on my own conscience. So I did, you know, consult with an integrative practitioner, and that was my first time ever doing that. So I was able to heal my thyroid with like an HMO plan, very little resources, and just with basic lifestyle changes. So I don't want people to feel like they need to have an immense amount of financial resource to be healthy. Like, you can really do it if you start evaluating your day-to-day decisions, the food that you're eating, what you're putting on your body, what what you're using to clean your home, like the quality of your house, just like air quality, everything, getting fresh air, getting adequate sunshine. It really is like an underwhelming, you know, we talked a lot about this. It's an underwhelming, like, what's the word? Like
Yes. And it just goes to show how the little things matter. All the little things all put together, you know, make up the whole. So it absolutely matters. And it was what helped me get better as well. Where I'm not in remission, but I'm getting there. I feel like I'm getting there, fingers crossed. But and I noticed, I don't need to do all these huge things. It's just little changes. And then week by week, adding something new and then adding something new, because it's so overwhelming when you hear that you have to make all these changes, and you see other people do it and you just feel overwhelmed. You don't know where to start. You know, do I have to change everything? Yes, you do, but not immediately.
Not all at once.
But then I can imagine now, when you, like, for me, I would like to get pregnant, and there's a lot of things that I do, but I feel like it's not enough. I don't know, you know. I'm just worried. I'm so fearful, and I'm like, things could get worse. And I'm making notes of all these books that you recommended. I'm definitely going to be reading that. Like you said, you now had to make all these decisions for you and your baby, and you reached out. That's so amazing. I think that's so, that you really are just advocating for your health. You are fighting so hard for it. And that's the inspiration. You know, do you ever think, if you didn't do that, where would you be in your health journey? Where would you be? You know,
I have thought about that. And it's funny because I did have this conversation with my mom, because she was seeing me take supplements, and these are food-based supplements that are vetted through my integrative practitioner. But the average person, it's almost like scary for them to see you do, or maybe, I don't know if scary is the right word, but it's almost like a shock when they see you do something that's healthy, but it's different than what they know. And she was just like, oh, are you questioning? Like, are you sure you need all these supplements? Are you sure, like this is going to be okay? And I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, well, I'm being very specific here. With my mom, I just told her, I said, if I had my thyroid removed, instead of supplements, I would be taking medication. So, you know what I mean? It's just like, why is it okay if it's in a prescription bottle, but if it's not okay if it's in, it's a supplement, a food-based supplement? Like, why? I'm treating myself with nutrients, and I'm not doing it blindly. I'm seeing a doctor that specializes in this. He's an OBGYN obstetrician for like 30 years, I think he was in practice. So not only is his book coming from the study, that he's done on trace minerals, but also as an OBGYN and obstetrician who's been who's been doing it for 30 years. He knows women's health. And I was just like, it's just, to me, it's very, very incredible how society does kind of seems to look down at natural holistic health, but they're okay if you're like eating a donut, if you're taking your prescription bottle, if you're, that's normal.
Donuts or any, it's so true. It's so true. And that's part of the battle. If you're trying to advocate for your health, and so many people questioning, well, why aren't you on medication? Why don't you just take the medication? I had that question about twice this week, this week. And where do you start to tell them, just to help them to understand? I mean, it's so huge. And did your mom ask you this while you were pregnant, or just in general? Was this like during?
I think she did ask me while I was pregnant, and because I had like my, I would bring along my supplements wherever I would go.
I do that too. I have a really good box. I remember my brother telling me, why don't you just put it in a pill box? I said, do you know how many supplements I take? I'll need a huge pill box. And he sent me a link on Amazon, and it showed that they actually do sell big ones.
Yeah. I
thought I'm that person that needs that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like my travel one, it's like it's like a 4-jar pill that you can kind of like stack on top of each other. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And then I think at one point I'm just bringing my whole supplement, like, because sometimes it's tedious to like sort your supplements out.
Especially for me when I don't have the energy and I have to think, oh, I have to do my supplements today. Do I even have the energy for that? It's just something in itself. You know what I'm intrigued about? I want to know from when you wanted to get pregnant, what sort of information they gave you, and then the journey you took, the beginning part of your pregnancy. What was it like? How much of your diet and everything did you have to change even more? But was this because of what the conventional doctors told you? Did you completely think, okay, I'm not going to go down that route?
I did both because because my insurance, I was using my insurance. I was going through the conventional system, and I find like a lot of women, are just have no choice. Pregnancy without insurance is expensive. So I had to use my resources, and that's why I consulted with an integrative practitioner. So the integrative practitioner would do all of my thyroid testing, and he would be monitoring my thyroid because he was doing all the preventative care. Conventional doesn't do preventative care. They wanting to test you just to see when you have a problem. And then when you have a problem, then they intervene, right? I don't want to wait till I have a problem.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So my integrative practitioner was the one that was helping me advocate the conventional system. And he was giving me a lot of resources, a lot of information. He was just completely telling me not to. I don't have to get my thyroid levels checked by them. And I didn't know that because I had to see a specialist because I was considered high risk because of my age and my thyroid history. And, but I was seeing a midwife at the same time. So the midwife understood everything I needed, but the obstetrician or the specialist was, wanting to order all of my thyroid labs because they just couldn't understand that I was in remission. And that was really weird. Actually, they wanted to contact my old endocrinologist.
Yeah.
Because they just couldn't understand how I put in my history that I was diagnosed with Graves, but I had been in remission since. They were like, what do you mean by that?
And so did they exist for them? Was it so they never heard of it? So
they just think, I feel like it's very rare for them to hear that. And then on top of that, I think that because pregnancy is known to trigger, thyroid issue in patients or even make them worse. I think their just concern was, okay, you had a history of Graves. You're most likely going to just get it or it's going to get worse again. So they couldn't understand like remission. And the good thing too was that by this time, so it was early 2021 when I was pregnant, the integrative practitioner, so Dr. Robert Thompson, checked my antibodies. And for the first time, I tested negative for the TSI antibodies that are associated with Graves.
TSI?
So yeah, it's thyroid stimulating aminoglobulin. I'm not sure if I'm like saying it right, but I tested negative for the first time. So not only was I in remission, but I no longer had the antibodies. This is when I feel like my story kind of started to change because at this time I was really sharing that I was in thyroid remission. And now I was saying, well, I'm no longer in thyroid remission. I've reversed my autoimmune disease. I don't have those antibodies that are associated with Graves anymore that gives me that autoimmune disease. So when I was sharing that with the conventional doctors, they were just like, I remember I heard the lab technician and the doctor talking, and he was like, well, she says she tested negative. And I told him, I said, you can pull those records.
But it's in exactly, doesn't it?
I said, I used the same lab that the good thing about working with an integrative practitioner is you can still order your labs through whatever lab your insurance covers. So I was using the same lab that the conventional doctors covered. So I was just really confused. I was like, well, my medical history is there. And he just said something to me like, he just didn't take the time, I guess, to want to look, or I don't know what he told me.
But then it makes you feel like you're mad, like you're, I don't know, like you're kooky.
A little bit, like kind of like,
delusional or something.
It almost makes me feel a little bit like I don't want to share that I don't even want to share it. Like I almost don't even want to talk about it when it comes with, I don't want to make it a thing, and just because I just want to make sure that my health is okay and my baby's health is okay. And this is just facts. And I feel like the tone that I was hearing was like, oh, she says she doesn't have, you know what I mean? It just was like, no, this is not what this is about. It's really a clash. There's a clash with conventional and functional medicine,
So it's so good that you had the functional medicine on the side. Otherwise, how would you navigate that if you just had the conventional?
Yeah. So I did let them test my thyroid levels once. And so one thing that I learned with this is that when you're pregnant, your TSH levels naturally drop. So I know for us, that's like a symptom of Graves is when your TSH levels drop. So I realized that you can't really rely on TSH anyways through conventional when that happens. And so the thyroid like physically can change too during pregnancy. Like it can enlarge, like the thyroid is just a big part of pregnancy health. So even the levels that you need to be within range are going to be different during pregnancy than when you're not pregnant. So it's a whole different ball game when it comes.
In the fear just hearing it. Honestly, I really am. It's not what you want. You just, the one part of your body that you're already struggling with is going to now, like you said, be tested during this time. That you want something that is so natural for a woman to want, and then it's like you're stepping into a battlefield, and you don't even know who the enemy is. You don't know what you're fighting. It can feel so, helpless. I'm just hearing it, and just it's quite, make you feel so stressful. And I bet you a lot of women are probably in the same shoes as me, feeling that fear. Yeah.
I mean, I felt that fear the whole time during my pregnancy. Like I was being haunted by that, it's going to come back.
Oh my goodness.
And it's different because I feel like we just shared, now it's not just your health, but it's your baby's health, so that weight is very, very different. And I just want women to know that are hearing this, that don't get overwhelmed, don't get critical, and don't get too hard on yourself. It's just do what you can, where you can, go where your heart is calling you to go, make the changes you already feel like you need to be doing. Do look into trace minerals. You need it. Every pregnancy takes about 10% of a woman's trace minerals. You need to be focusing on your diet and the nutrients that you're getting, not just vitamins, but trace minerals. And I recommend the book, Real Food for Pregnancy by Lily Nichols. It's a huge, really good resource. I also recommend the Calcium Live by Dr. Robert Thompson. There are online sources that I really like Barbara O'Neill. She is a Christian-based health advocate. Yeah. So her information is just, for me, it's perfect because that's my faith, that fills my cup. And it just, but even if that's not, she is so great at teaching you the basics. And I think what happens is a lot of people want to start tapping into doing different health protocols that may be intense, like a detox or some type of cleanse. And that can be really, really tough and harsh on the body. And the people that I recommend really start on the basics: sleep, nutrients, chemical load, the chemicals you need to be aware of, the necessity of your water intake, and trace minerals. Salt is so important. Salt is such a good source. The right salt is such a good source for trace minerals. You want to get Celtic or Himalayan, getting sunshine, fresh air, exercise. I think these are very good, basic, fundamental truth to start your health journey that are going to really set you up to handle whatever the tougher, more underlying health issues you might need to deal with.
Yeah. That's so true. You did, but at that point, so you had already healed. You were in remission. You reversed the graves, and so you had already done all these things, and then it was a matter of the fear. Every step of the way of the pregnancy is going to flare up, right? Yeah. So I can imagine.
Exactly. So there was the fear. Okay, my thyroid has been in remission. It was doing great, but I've never been pregnant before, so I was in new territory, and pregnancy health is totally there's a relation between thyroid and pregnancy, but there's also just pregnancy health, and then there's your health, and then there's postpartum health, right? And then so it's just there's just a lot when it comes with pregnancy. So for me, I feel like I did everything right to support to prevent thyroid issues, a lot also known as postpartum thyroiditis. So I was able to get pregnant, not get thyroid issue while pregnancy, but I also didn't have thyroid issues after pregnancy. And, but my pregnancy itself was healthy, but my labor and delivery was, an emergency. Yeah. And so this is where I was kind of talking to you about just, you have to learn to advocate about, that you know what you want to get from it. So for me, and I shared with you with this, the birth date, getting the right birth date was something that caused issues for me at the end of my pregnancy. So my
Mm-hmm.
baby was obviously younger than where he was really at. So I had to have an emergency C-section. I didn't experience any contractions. My placenta erupted, and that caused my baby to have very, very low oxygen levels. And I used the kick counting method to kind of connect with my baby during the 3rd trimester, which really helped me understand that something wasn't right when his movements slow down. And that's what, and then my water broke. I went to the hospital, and that's when his oxygen levels were completely not even detected. So I went straight to the emergency and had a baby who was breathing fine. But it's just, I felt like my mind was very divided because of the concern of my thyroid health. And then there's pregnancy health. You know what I mean? It's just a balance.
Absolutely. This is it. How did you balance it?
Well, that's the thing is, I feel like there's a lot of lessons that I've learned through it. And I've realized that, looking back, it's just important to know that, I had a disagreement on the due date. And at the end, I let that be the medical profession's decision, and it was the wrong due date. So I've learned that always trust your intuition. And it's scary because it's hard to trust yourself when you have your baby's health in your hands. But it's just a lot to balance thyroid and pregnancy health. But just know that as long as you're balancing the health for you of your baby, you're not going to make a wrong decision.
So it's about, in the beginning stages, to definitely be good at connecting with yourself. Not everybody is, it's taking that time for you, doing check-ins with yourself, just making sure that you're connecting with your body, educating yourself on your body. In itself it takes time. Not everybody is intuitive. For me, I'm quite intuitive, but I've built it over years. It's like a muscle. I almost test it. I want to test my intuition and make sure it's stronger. It's like I take my intuition to the gym. Honestly, I really work on it, and it's because it's me. It guides me. It really guides me. And if I didn't have that, I would feel quite lost. So I think that might even be a good place to start, because you're going to need that. You're the person that's carrying this child. You need to know yourself and be connected with yourself, because that baby's inside of you, I think.
Yeah. Intuition is definitely what led my whole journey. And we talked about this in our conversation we had. And you're right. I love that you describe it like an exercise. And it's something that gets challenged a lot in the medical profession.
Because it means nothing to them.
It doesn't. It's like, that's why it's so challenging, because intuition is not something that it's on a paper that you can go in and show. You have to literally advocate, vocalize it. And there's a lot of pushback. So that's why I really think it's important to be gentle when it comes to your thyroid health, your pregnancy health. Don't overwhelm yourself, and to just go with what you have, making the best decisions that you have, and make sure that you have peace. Because regardless of having a really great pregnancy and having an emergency delivery, I have peace. I feel like me and my midwife understood the terms of no unnecessary medical intervention. So when the decision came, I didn't feel like I was having to advocate in that moment for like, does this really need to be necessary? Like, I already had that relationship. And I think that that's how it should always be with your thyroid health or pregnancy health. Whoever you're working with, you need to be working with someone that respects that, respects that, your wishes, and respects your intuition as much as your, what's showing up on the lab, the testing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So from the beginning, it's about speaking out. If something doesn't feel all right, saying,
say it. I don't feel comfortable with this. And I remember I had to say that.
Yeah.
My endocrinologist was like, your levels are still bad. Or I think it was my TSH. So my T3 and T4, this is before I was in remission. So my T3 and T4 had stabilized, but my TSH was still very low. And, she wanted me to go on medication. And I was like, I had to tell her, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And that was it. I didn't have any other reason.
Yeah, but your intuition was telling you.
My intuition was just meant to exactly.
You have to really believe in yourself to just go with that. Yeah, because the doctor's looking at you like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
you know, are you? And then you have nothing to back up, but just I don't feel right with. You're doing one better than me. I think when I don't know. Because recently my levels sort of teetered a bit out, and they have recommended for me to go on medication as well, but I didn't even say anything about it. I just I just went into, right, I need to do my protocol, I need to do all these things to get back, and I understood why it went out of whack as well, because I had such a stressful year with the marriage. So it's about with the wedding, sorry, not with the marriage. Marriage is fine.
Yeah, weddings are stressful.
So it's about, I can understand why my thyroid went out of whack, and then thinking, okay, I might not need the medication, because there was things that happened that the stress probably teetered it off. So how do I reclaim back the balance in my body, because it wasn't better, it was in a better state. So not just jumping and saying, okay, I'll take the medication now, and then you still have to listen to yourself and know what's going on with you, checking in all the time, keeping tabs. And I don't recommend it for everybody. I think what you did was the correct thing, which was to tell them, I'm not comfortable with this. I, on the other hand, didn't do that. I just carried on doing my thing because I don't know what I think I just got so upset that they just offered a medication. I think it sort of, because I don't think I've said my story. I had been diagnosed with Graves' disease 8 years ago, did medication for about a year and a half, and it was claimed, they put that I was in remission, and I never needed the medication. So I've been on medication for a very long time, but that doesn't mean that I still suffered with the symptoms, all the symptoms that came. So I never thought of myself as being free from, I've reversed anything. I didn't think anything. On paper, it said remission, but I'm still going through the symptoms. So, I was just trying to manage it all these years and tweak things, figure things out. It's taking me such a long time to find something that's working for me. And I was feeling better, but as I said, I had a stressful year planning this wedding and everything else that came with that. And it went out of whack. And then they recommended medication, and for me, I thought, oh no, I'm going backwards. I've come so far. So rather than say anything, I just thought I need to up the game now. I can understand where it went wrong, and I will do another test and show that to them, and I'm hoping that everything I've done will work, and I'll keep you all posted on that. But after that, if they come back, if the levels are still bad, then I will do what you did and discuss it, and maybe tell them I'm not comfortable with it. Just to say that I didn't, I should have just said that. I sort of left them hanging, and they're probably waiting for me to.
They're like, what's going on? Right? You almost feel like it's going to be a battle, to say that.
I don't have the energy. Yeah.
Yeah. You just don't want to deal with the pushback sometimes. But, one thing you said that's really interesting that I think we haven't discussed about is that a lot of times thyroid diseases manifest after a stressful life event. And a lot of time that stressful life event is what tips the jar over, tips the bucket over. Because for me, that I can clearly go back and remember when I was when my symptoms got really bad. I had a huge stressful life event, and it was just like that. It kind of like it's like a timeline in your life, like you can remember that. Yeah.
Huge traumatic event.
Yes. So that's why you have to be so mindful of stressors. And a lot of times the emotional stressors are the ones that just push you over the edge, because you're not as conscious of your chemical stressors. I think that sometimes we interact with so many of them that we forget. And a lot of these chemical stressors are invisible. They're in the products that you're using. They're hidden. They're in the water. They're hidden. So you don't see them, as much as you would like a physical stressor, like let's say like an old injury that you can feel, or like emotional stressors to people, and can be big emotional stress, you know?
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, that's so true. So I can, that makes me realize that when you're going to go into, trying to get pregnant and pregnancy, that maybe that's something to focus on.
Yeah.
Maybe the first thing to focus on, reducing your emotional stresses, because you don't want to go to it stressed. You don't want to go to it fearful, because all of those things are naturally going to come. Like I just said, I'm fearful and I don't want to be, but for me, just to add, about 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I can't remember, I was going to a routine blood test and tests. It was to do with the Graves' disease in my eyes. I went to eye hospital and I saw a woman there who had really bad Graves. Really, I'd never seen anything like it. Her eyes had literally cut. Her eyeballs were out. Mine were protruding and they had gone a bit funny, and I was so down, as you can imagine, as a woman. I didn't want to look myself in the mirror. It was so horrible. I mean, that's a topic to talk about in itself.
Yeah.
And then I saw this woman and my heart just sank, and I just couldn't believe, like, this disease is just so awful to see her. And she said, she was talking to the doctors and saying that this happened to her during pregnancy. It was during the pregnancy she developed Graves, and she just looked so hopeless, helpless, and lost. And she just looked at me, and it just broke me. Like, I feel emotional thinking about it. Because this is what we're dealing with, the whole thyroid, all these thyroid issues, and just feeling so lost. She looked so lost, and that put the fear in me, and I think I sort of backed away from anything to do with pregnancy, because I always wanted to be a mother, and I had baby fever a long time ago. I've always had it. But I think go through all these thyroid issues, you're so exhausted, you almost lose yourself. There was times when you don't even feel like that person that you used to be at all. And but there's still part of you that wants to have children and wants to go through that. But if you already go through so much on a day-to-day basis, then to add pregnancy, or actually even getting pregnant, is a fear in itself. I don't want to go through miscarriages. I can't imagine all the women that have been through that. And that's something that is part that could be part of it. Like, just the absolute beginning, trying to get pregnant could lead to that. And you've already been through so much. How on earth are you going to navigate now, potential, because your thyroid is not functioning properly. It's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And it is enough to scare you, and for many reasons. That's why I really advocate on focusing on what you can, because if you don't, that's what's going to be filling your head and your heart all the time. And it's very real, but you want to make sure that you're filling your heart and mind with hope and with things that you can do, things that will benefit you. The resources that I shared, they will benefit you. I know, because I tried it, and this is where I'm at. And so that's why I'm trying to share this, because I don't want people to downplay those day-to-day habits, or to minimize the potential and the power that it can have in transforming your health, your life, the quality of your life, and the possibility of having life, making life. And it is very, very possible when you focus on these natural laws, the natural health laws that we have: adequate water, exercise, connecting with nature, prayer and meditation,
sleep hygiene,
nutrients, minimizing chemicals. The truth is, autoimmune diseases went up when modern life started to take over more. And I feel like my approach now, as someone who is aware of this, is how can I live as close to nature while navigating modern life? We can't change everything about society. I mean, unless you're going to live off the grid,
Yeah.
But, you really have to start asking yourself, how is modern life impacting me? Because if you're not going to be aware of it, then you're going to miss all of these potential hazards that are causing health issues. And modern life modern conveniences, you know, they come at a price sometimes. And so you have to ground yourself back to living as close to nature as you can. You know, implementing that. That's why daily fresh air is important. Opening up your windows to air out your house. Furniture is a big component of toxic chemicals. And if you're stuffed up all the time in your house, if you're not letting that air come in and cleanse, you know, you're just in there. That basic. That's what I'm trying to say. Restoring your health could be that simple. I mean, it sounds simpler said than done sometimes, but when you just start where you can and you start to inform yourself, I really recommend those resources that I shared earlier. This is the time where it's worth investing in yourself. It is worth taking time to learn more about how to get balance back in your day-to-day, how to restore it in simple ways. So you don't get so overwhelmed with making the changes, or you don't spend your resources in other areas that may be fruitless. You really need to start with the basics.
So it sounds like now, I mean, you should always make yourself a priority anyway, but if you're going to go into trying to have a baby, you need to really put yourself up on that list. And just like your brand, Healing Unapologetically, be unapologetic about that, because it's time for not just for you and your body, but you and your potential baby. So you need to advocate for yourself. You know, I'm taking all these notes. I'll put the links of the books that you mentioned up them in the comment section. And so read the books, educate yourself about pregnancy and everything, about nutrition and pregnancy. It's probably going to be really huge, like a huge topic. Like you said, trace minerals is what's important. And about knowing that you have the right to say, I'm not comfortable with this, and being intuitive along the journey of and keeping stress down as much as possible, because that fear is not going to help you.
And stress is inevitable. Like, there's no world without stress. Stress is natural. And the thing is, we're talking about, you don't want your stress to turn into chronic stress. And you want to be at a place where you can handle stress on a day-to-day and not have it convert to chronic stress, or have it like oppress your health on a long term. You know, you want to be able to handle it, because stress is very, very natural. But also there's the American Thyroid Association website that is very informative with a lot of thyroid health and pregnancy health. So a lot of my information I got was from that website as well. So that would be enough to share. And they talk a lot about what I was kind of sharing, how the thyroid can enlarge during pregnancy. Sometimes the TSH is going to drop down. This is just stuff to know, especially if you do have hyperthyroidism or Graves, so you don't get more concern when your labs come differently. You know, it's about minimizing that stress. So the more you know is going to help you minimize that stress, you know?
That's so true, because now I didn't know that. So I got into it. Let's say I got in, and then they told me that thyroid's enlarged. This is the worst news for me, because I used to have a goiter, and it's no longer there. And if they said that to me, I can feel like my gut is already sunken, like I can feel it, you know. But to be like, that's why it's good to be aware beforehand, to read and have that awareness just before you go in. Don't go in blindly, basically.
Yes, don't go in blindly. Yeah. So you're not left surprised, and you're not left hanging, like, because a lot of times doctors are explaining to you what's going on, but you're almost like, for me at least, I'm hearing you, but I'm not grasping it, you know? And sometimes I'm walking out of the office like, huh? And I, you know, all these questions come up afterwards, and I'm just like, oh, that I should have asked this question and that question.
All the time, me as well. That's why we were doing these talks, because there's so much information on there. There's a lot of, you know, you can read the books, you can find a lot of the dietary information, the medical information. There's so much out there, but talking to each other, you know, talking about our experiences and our personal journeys is what this is all about, and sharing that. And through that, hopefully we find motivation and encouragement and hope and empowerment. So that's what the main purpose of all of this is. And I really hope that it helps. I mean, yeah.
I feel like the best thing that I wish that I can like give people is just the peace. Like I feel like maybe because I found myself in a mix of all these emotions in my journey, that I realized what really grounds you when you make a decision is when you have peace, regardless what it is, regardless of what somebody else is doing, regardless of what somebody else is saying is working or not working for them. There's so many outside voices telling you what to do and not to do. There's so much information. So I don't think, like you just said, there's not a lack of information that's happening here. It's just kind of the need to just conversate and tell. We need to look at one another and just support each other. It's okay. It's okay for you to do what you feel best, even if it looks different than mine or than somebody else's. Or I just feel like a lot of times, especially online, we get caught up with wanting to copy and do exactly what somebody else did, or buy something that somebody else did. We get very fixated on these nuances. And you as the individual get lost, like your specific needs get lost, your intuition gets lost. And I've talked to plenty of I've talked to plenty of women who have shared their stories and their concerns. And a lot of them actually come back and said, you know what, that one intuition where I thought my underlying health issue was this, but I listened to this other person, it turned out to be right. I was right. You know, I should have, and that's the one thing that I do with when I help anyone is I just truly just guide them to, you have to listen to yourself. What is your intuition telling you? Because that is always like 99% of times what is really the root cause of something, you know, and later I'm hearing that it is. They're coming back and saying, you were right. It was this. It wasn't what somebody else was telling me. And that's what I've seen that gets lost the most is our own voice, because we're trying to do what somebody else wants us to do, what they think, because I think a lot of people have the intentions of being helpful, but you stop being helpful when you don't listen to the person. That's the one thing everybody kind of says about their doctor. I don't feel listened to.
Me
and
too.
I think that in the wellness community, it happens. Like we kind of stop listening to that individual and say, well, this is what worked for me, or this is what I think you're dealing with, because that was their own personal experience. And they kind of project it on that individual. And I always say, I don't want to project my experience on you. What is your body telling you?
Yeah.
What are your symptoms telling you? What is your childhood history? Let's start connecting your dots. Okay. What is your intuition now telling you? Do that. Explore that area first. It's not about projecting my experience and what I know. Yeah, it can help and guide, me to understand what's going on, but it's so important to listen to your intuition and to what is kind of poking you, what's nudging you inside.
Yeah, that's so true. But like we said, it's about connecting with yourself and maybe starting with that and doing all the work that it takes, because it takes work. It takes work.
Yeah, it's doing that and the work. Exactly.
Child, whatever it is for you, everyone has a different journey. If you need to look into the childhood, if you need to do the counseling, if you need to do the therapy, if you need to do all these things to let go of the layers that no longer serve you, and then come back to yourself and can find that connection with you and let that guide you. I think, like you said, that's so important. And I feel like intuition is probably something that's really important when you're a mother. I feel that, I don't know, I'm not a mother yet, but I can imagine that as a mother, you need intuition.
That's why we need to advocate for better health. Like, I think that as a mother, now I realize more than ever, this is my fight, because the health of my child, the health of my family, like what am I putting on the plate? What is coming in the house? All of that stuff as a mother, that's on my shoulders. That's what I gladly put that on my shoulders, because I love to nurture and care for my family. So this is my fight. And, I just feel so strongly about having to, especially as women to say that that's okay to kind of honor that motherly instinct, you know, because a lot of time it's ignored. And I remember there was a story that was shared with me from a friend. Her son had severe baby eczema, but it was almost like borderline, like an immune issue. Like he was allergic to almost everything. So he was suffering so much. And she went to see a naturopath, and the naturopath told her, follow your instincts, even if it goes against what I'm telling you, because a mother's instinct when it comes to their child is super powerful. This is a naturopath doctor, or a doctor who has studied and has experience with a lot of children and a lot of illnesses or whatever he specializes with. But he honored and understood the importance of a mother's instinct. And she did. And her son is 100% healed. So I've seen this, you know, I've seen the power of following your intuition and following your mother's instinct. Of course, you're not doing it just blindly. You see how we're surrounded with support. She has her naturopath doctor. She has the other immune doctor that she's going to. She's getting information everywhere. You need to go and grab information.
Yes.
You connect the dots.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and that's what we need to do. We need to be private investigators. And for me, like I think on the first part, I shared how I had to go back and connect, like, when did I first started to get really sick? Yeah. And I had to go all the way back to when I was a child, and I was seeing the impact that chlorine and pools were having with me, right? You have to go back. And sometimes that requires you to go way back when you're a kid, when you first started to have signs of illness and symptoms. Yeah. And that's going to help you uncover the triggers, the root cause triggers to your illness. And that's going to help you kind of create your personalized protocol to your health, to getting better.
It really is a journey of self-discovery.
Oh, yeah.
It really is a journey of self-discovery. Yes. And it's about, just don't forget to use your voice. Don't forget that you have a say in your body. You have a say in your own body. You know, you can go to, like you just said, because I can imagine people listening thinking, it's a bit woo-woo. Just use your intuition. It's not really.
Go to my account. I share all of my thyroid labs. It's not woo-woo.
It's not woo-woo.
I share the data. It's there.
Amazing. Yes.
It works, but yeah.
Exactly. And it's just using everything. It's balance, isn't it? It's balancing it, not putting everything into what the doctor says. You know your body more than to put and don't lose your voice. Yeah.
Don't lose your voice. But that's why I was sharing, like, I was still seeing my endocrinologist. I was still seeing my doctor. Like, I wasn't doing everything on my own. And I don't want to spread that message. The message is you're tapping into all this information, and you are your ultimate guide in following what best works for you. You know, that's it. It's not like I'm just, going to try to figure it out blindly. Like, I couldn't know that I was dealing with Graves' disease unless I went to the doctor, got tested, got the results. And then I was able to know exactly where to start, what was wrong. So it's just about having to use the information in a way where it honors your beliefs, it honors your instincts, it honors your wishes, and it at least gives you a chance to do what you feel like you need to do first,
Yeah, get the facts, do the tests, like, there's so many things that you need to do to check your triggers, check your levels, do all the tests, get the facts, and then it's up to you to navigate it all and see what steps you think that you need to do. Have the facts all there, so use all the resources that are out there for you to get that, and take that, like we always keep saying, advocate for yourself and navigate through those facts, and then it will help you. It helped me a lot. So there's, again, here we go, so much you can even dissect, so many things in what we've spoken about, and then take it on its own journey. But before, rather than overwhelm, I think a lot of information there, and I think the biggest we've spoken about so many things, and The biggest thing is to advocate for yourself, not be intuitive, but allow your intuition to guide you and help you. Don't be so fearful, because that stress is not going to be good for you. And it's about going out there and finding the information so that you are informed and you know what's going on. You're not going to be blindsided, and just taking it a step at a time and having hope. Things, it will be all right, you know, because there are stories where people have gone through it, had healthy babies.
Oh yeah.
We like
even with Graves, people have had healthy babies. I can't tell you the amount of women that I've been connecting with this past year who this was their exact same reason. Their fear was pregnancy. I feel like I've seen the past year like a wave of women having their pregnancy and having their healthy baby. For some, the pregnancy had to be bedridden. They couldn't do too much. Right. For others, they were able to be active continually, or, you know, but they were able to do it. It looked different. And I'm seeing their posts. I'm seeing them with their babies. So that's why it's really about honoring you, your health, your needs, investing in the information where specifically applies to you. That's why I'm trying to share all these resources, because, you know, certain information will resonate with you that may not resonate with me, just depending on your health needs, health issues. But yeah, I've seen so many women with Graves on my account get pregnant, have a healthy baby. You know,
even with their thyroid levels,
even like I can't say exactly their thyroid levels, but I know that they've had. You know, I'm just trying not to give off too much information about them, but or personal information about them. But they've all had different backgrounds. Some had thyroid cancer, some had hyperthyroidism with Graves, nodules. They all had different underlying thyroid issues. And they were still able to overcome them and have their pregnancy and have their babies, and healthy babies, and be healthy and happy. It's like, I'm shocked. I just couldn't believe how many women, like this past year, I've seen on my page alone, on my little circle, you know, have their babies, have their, that happy ending that I feel like a lot of us are looking for when you're so fearful of the idea of pregnancy. And some of them have had a history of miscarriages too. So it's a journey. Yes, it's a journey, and it's not easy. And I don't want to say that it's going to look one way and be perfect. And I don't want to say it's going to be easy. It may be more difficult for you than it is for me, or you might have other issues that pop up that didn't for me. But that I think that what you and I both have a passion for is just creating a support to say, it's okay. We're here for you. We understand. We know what it is to feel those symptoms, to feel that fear. And as sisters, we want to be here for you and hold your hand and say, it's okay. That's all we can do, really, I think.
Yeah.
It's just support one another and encourage one another.
That means the world. I think that means the world, because it's such an isolating condition to go through. It's so lonely. And yeah, that's our passion. That's why we're doing this. And just hearing you, my cheeks I just smiled so much hearing those success stories. That's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
More things can go wrong with anything. Things can also go right, and it's possible that things can go. Yeah. So hearing that just made me smile so much, and then I forgot my fear, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you know what? I think I can do this.
You can do it. You can do it. And it's just like you said, being aware of your circumstances, being aware of your health, knowing where you can do better, knowing where you can be more preventative, knowing where you can work. That's all gonna help you support that healthy pregnancy, that healthy baby, and you can do it. You can definitely do it.
And you're just going to get to know yourself so much more, which is wonderful. That's what's happened with me over the last 8 years. I've got to know myself so much more.
Oh yeah.
That's made for a very fulfilling journey, despite all the ups and downs that I've been through with this thyroid disease. I can imagine maybe if that's just me. If I didn't have it, would I have been as connected with myself and advocated for myself and been as unapologetic with my self-care? I don't think so. I think because of this, I fight so much harder, so much more for my life and my quality of life.
Yeah.
So I take positives from it and just keep going with that. My gosh, yeah.
That's good, because the negative can, like, it can really oppress you if you don't, remind yourself, like, hey, I know this is what I have to deal with, but this is also what I have to look forward to, or I know this is where I can make improvements. Because in my journey, I found the joy in educating myself, learning about thyroid disease, learning about my options were, talking with other women who had Graves' disease, listening to new information. Just learning became my joy, because I've realized that I became more and more empowered when I learned more and more. When I started to implement something really simple and then see a positive effect, that gave me joy. So it's not always easy, but I definitely believe that being proactive in your health journey is going to help you be more positive and help you kind of, rise up above that negativity when you are constantly more proactive in your health journey.
So true. It's not easy. It's absolutely worth it. It's absolutely worth it, and you will reap the benefits. Don't get it. Just keep going. Don't give up. Just keep going day by day, day by day. And I'll let you all know as well my levels. Hopefully that everything I've done has improved it as well. And just about sharing our stories and helping each other and encouraging one another. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
Priscilla, that has been incredible. Incredible. I mean, I'm coming away feeling less fearful. I think that's good. That's huge. I mean, I've already seen your story and that was already inspiration for me, but there was a lot of things that I didn't know, and everything that you spoke about today has, I promise you, has helped me to feel like I could, roll up my sleeves. Let's go. Let's go.
You got this, man.
Yeah. We got the podcast coming out anyways. Soon. Yeah, next year, 2023 is going to be incredible. I just can't wait for all the conversations. I keep making notes of everything that comes with having an autoimmune, and each topic we're just going to dissect it, go into it.
Yes.
Incredible.
I can't wait. Yeah, I know. Because I feel like I can do the information overload here, but then we'll be having like a 3-hour conversation, and it's just
so it's going to be great.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that you're that you feel like that you can do this, because
and I hope you can, and I hope everybody watching has come away with something, one thing that they can take from this. And thank you so much. I say everybody to follow your journey on Instagram. Thank you so much for sharing. You don't have to. You share so much information, so much wealth of information on your journey. We're not medical doctors. We're not naturopaths. We're not anything. We're just you're just somebody who just figured it out. And
I figured sharing my experience, like you said, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't have a medical background, but what I can do is share my experience. And I think that if my experience can help anybody, my insight can help anybody along their journey, then it's worth sharing.
Hello everyone, it's Meron here from Loving Me Kindly. Thank you so much for watching that. If you enjoyed it, then please hit the subscribe button so that you can get more inspiring videos to help you on your wellness journey.